welcome back to Scrapbooking. This is Dorothy, and I am showing you Project 2 here of Secret Garden, which is available at dorothysmith.stampinup.net. So you can look under the menu and close to my heart CTMH products, and you will find this full kit there. It has cardstock and printed papers, two-sided embellishments, little enamel dots, a thin cut set, and a stamping and thin cut set. So you get a lot in this kit, and you get to make a lot of beautiful pages. So I'm using this for my son's wedding, which are the pictures that you see here. It's my son and his new wife, and there are friends, and you'll see relatives on the third project, I think. So anyway, I really enjoyed this. So this is the start. You also get these instructions, which really help to put everything together. The cutting, I've already cut everything for all the pages, and I sorted them according to the project. So I've made this a little bit less painful for you to see by having everything cut and ready to go. So this is the background for this project. And instead of using a full piece, I cut this down so that the inside, each of the edges is an inch. So I used my paper cutter and followed an inch all around, and that way I get to have a big piece of paper to still use. Now you could totally do that. That's with the peach, but you could totally do that with the honey butter. I could have done it. I didn't. So now what you're doing, instead of putting it all on the back, you just want to go along the very edge of the paper. You could either do it on the over page, or you could go around the edge of the peach and add your adhesive, whatever kind of adhesive you're comfortable using. And then I'm just laying it down, putting it equidistant, top, bottom, side to side. So that's the back side. And I get a big piece, what is that? A 10 by 10 piece of the peach cardstock to still use. So yay. So see, I could have done it to the honey butter, but I went ahead and did it. I just kind of thought that 3 pieces of cardstock or heavy paper, it's kind of a lot. So I just kind of lightened the load a little bit. So the French vanilla is going, and I keep on running out of adhesive. Next one's out too. I need to fill them up. Okay, so there we go. So I am also putting the French vanilla equidistant in the middle of the honey butter. You could measure it or you could eyeball it, whatever you're comfortable doing. So I'm just going to do a dry run and lay out the pieces according to the instructions. And I decided to just kind of hold off and kind of start on the other side, lay them out. Those little gingham, pink gingham, peach gingham pieces are a zip strip, which is a 1/2 inch strip on the papers. And you cut that off, and then we're going to use it like it looks like washi tape. So I'm just following the, kind of the picture on the instructions of how to lay these out. Now, you can always flip the colors over and use whichever color you'd rather. That's completely up to you. So there we go. And these pieces, I think they're not positive, maybe 2 by 8, but you could do this with any other paper that you have, and use some of your stash. Not that we all have stashes or anything, because we all use all of our paper when we get them, right? Anyway, yeah, so use that stash up. Okay, so I want the other side to show. So when I put the adhesive. Have you ever seen one of these things? It's sort of like a rubber eraser, but what it's really good is for taking glue off. It just kind of balls it up and takes care of it. So just have to use a little elbow grease with it. You could also use a anti-static pouch, a little powder pouch, and take the stickum out. Okay, so now we're going to have the pink side showing. Peach. And I am not measuring, I am totally eyeballing. And it's up to you. Sometimes I measure and sometimes I eyeball. And these are just they're kind of making a very slight arch along the top. So, kind of a neat effect instead of everything straight and square, which can get kind of boring. I do love these peach flowers. Look at how beautiful they are. I'm just kind of figuring, I don't know what I'm doing. So that is, that's 2 inches, 2 by about 8. So there we go. Isn't that a gorgeous paper? It's kind of a, I don't know, what do you call that, damask or something? Anyway, very, very pretty. And that one was a little bit narrower. Not really sure why. Don't know whether that was a mistake or that was in the instructions. But it doesn't really matter because so much of it gets covered up. So not a big deal. And then we put the last piece in place, and we're just going to the very edge of the French vanilla. And we used the pine diamond paper to make backgrounds for the prints. And all of those prints are cropped down, so they're about 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And we're kind of showcasing the trellis, archway, whatever you want to call it. I bought that on Amazon, of course, and they sent it, and you just hope that you get things in plenty of time. And then went to Michael's and got a bunch of the silk flowers and a big roll of tulle, and Jim and I started stapling and decorating the arch, the trellis. And so I'm going to use that to grow. I have some clematis, so it's going to have clematis in the backyard. So always nice to have a trellis. And it can always get decorated for whatever. Okay, this is also kind of following the arch. That one's a little bit bigger just because I think I couldn't crop down quite so much on the last one. So I just did a little fudge factor in there. Not a big deal, These are your scrapbook pages, and you do you. You do what you want. If you need to adjust it, you adjust it. Not a big deal. So that's kind of the feel for how this is going to look. And it was, I need to trim that one down a little bit. Got to cut a few feet off. But it was, we were so lucky that it was a perfect day, a Texas hot day, but still, perfect. There was, a few clouds in the sky. The sky was really blue, and we were lucky that we could go in the backyard and take a bunch of these pictures. So it was real fun, and it's so nice to have friends, all sorts of best friends that are in these pictures with the with the trellis. So really, really nice. And there were babies. There were babies there. So their group of friends, they're having their own little baby boom, which I just absolutely love. So here's the pieces of the zip strip, the peach gingham, and I'm just ripping off the edge to kind of make it look like a raw washi tape edge. And so they're pretend sticking the pictures in place. So super simple little decorating idea there. So the next thing is the love is going to get stamped in the corner. So I'm just taking that off and getting a little block that fits it and giving it a little wipe on my hand to get it prepared, and it's going to fit nicely right where it's supposed to. Otherwise, I probably would have to cut that piece off that's kind of hanging low there. And the other thing that's kind of fun is there's these funny little, so it fits on the 1x1 block. So they're just little, if you look at them real close, they look like itsy bitsy hearts. And so I'm just kind of making some little pattern as a backdrop. You can't see it very well on the instructions because it's so light, but that's what that is. So, and that's a cute little thing. I mean, to have a backdrop for the love, to just have itsy bitsy hearts. So just checking, because these are sizable, kind of thick letters. Just want to make sure it's getting a good coverage of ink. And then we put the love there, and it came out perfect. So this was fun. I mean, can you believe how lucky I was that the pictures that we took and the papers, these secret garden papers, just worked so beautifully together. No planning, just luck, and I'll take it. So we're going to have the happy title is going to go up top. Now, if you wanted this to stick out a little bit more, you could put it on a backdrop. But you could if you wanted to. But, there's plenty of busy going on, so that's fine. Like I said, you do you. And then the good times, perfect little phrase there. I love this sticker sheet. The sticker sheet is just working out beautifully for me for these pages. Little flower. And there's another flower that I think is going to go down below here. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, these flowers are just gorgeous. So I'm trying to figure out, I think there's a bunch of flowers that go down here. So these are all from the thin cut that has all the lines in it. And it's not the stamp set that has the thin cuts. So, and look at how that little piece just tucks right into that peach cardstock. So those colors of cardstock are solid, and that was part of the kit. The, I guess it's kind of sage. It looks kind of sage and peach and honey butter. And then we've got the honey butter flowers, and I'm just bending them up to add a little bit of dimension to them, and those are going to get stacked. Now I will admit something to you here, that when I was making all the die cuts, what I should have done was flip some of the cardstock over to get the light side and the dark side. And so I didn't notice that until I'm putting this together, and then it was like, oh, that should have been cut on the light side, not the dark side. But you know what? That's okay. It's going to be fine. Isn't that a beautiful flower, though? It just makes a really beautiful flower. And I sort of want to pop the center second layer of petals. I'm going to pop it up with a little dimensional dot. Another thing to add dimension to a flower. And just kind of add that right there. And then it gets a big pink peach dot right in the middle. And look at how pretty. Just finishes it off perfectly. So I think I use a dimensional to pop that up. So that one's got, well, I'm using the leftovers. So yeah, don't forget to use your leftovers. You know, those shouldn't go to waste. Okay, so there's our flower cluster in the lower corner. Flowers, hearts, and flowers. And then we've got some enamel dots to just kind of highlight. Put a couple of little pink ones down here. Peach. And we're also going to add a little bit up at the upper left-hand corner, so you're kind of taking your eye. Like I've said before, you're taking your eye from the upper left-hand corner to the lower right-hand corner. So with all the little eye candy in between. So, and if you wanted to add another journaling area, there was certainly room to add another journaling spot on the lower part of the page. So, but sometimes I really have to watch it because I can go from nicely embellished to overdone in no time flat. So I have to be really careful how I embellish things, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, that looks good, and oh my gosh, now it just looks overdone. So here's the other way of just running along the edge here. So you know you're gonna get the paper without missing and having a bunch go in the middle where it's going to get in the way, because it's going to stick to everything that it touches. So I'm going along the very edge, and I wasn't stingy with my running tape. And then here we go, trying to make it equidistant. So there we go. And this is page 2, the right page, doesn't get, I was looking for the French vanilla. This one doesn't get French vanilla. So this has a big background of that floral piece, and it's going to be the peach that goes along on the side. So we had all of the friends over on the other page, and now we're gonna, so I am measuring this so that I get it centered to the whole page. And that piece is gonna go, oh, like, how much is it? 1/2 an inch or so down from the top. 3/8 of an inch down from the top. 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch down from the top. And it's like 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3.5, close to 3.5 over from each side. So it's nicely centered. And then we're also using the green, the pine cross hatching or diamond pattern to highlight the pictures. So I like the fact that there's a print to the cardstock or to the paper, but it's such a regular print that it doesn't really detract from the picture itself. So it just makes a nice background without detracting. And these pieces are going to go down below. I should have put those there first, but what can you say? And they're like a 1/2 inch over from the side. I'm going to pull the ruler over. Maybe another 3/8 inch over, and then about a 1/2 inch up. And then these are going to get placed about 1/4 of an inch in between. Somehow I got off. I think something went crooked, and as I moved along, I progressively got more and more crooked. I don't know exactly what I did. But anyway, so I have to move them a little bit. So you want to be careful when you're putting your things down, you know, to make sure. But, you know, you can usually fix things. So, you know, don't stress yourself out. There's always a fix to things. I'm having a fun time with that little piece. And then you'll say, good grief, that's really wonky. But, you know, like I said, I did fix it, so not a problem. There we go. And these are just so that you're not totally duplicating from the other side, but you're making both pages coordinate with each other. So you've got the same kind of design. This is at the bottom, the other was mostly at the top. And, you know, you definitely say, okay, that's the paired piece. So this page is just Philip and Darcy. And that gets overlapped with a little bit of the honey butter showing on the left-hand side. You see how beautiful those clouds in that sky is? Which was the perfect color to go with those blue flowers that I got for the... Oh, man, I tell you. Luck, any day of the week. So I'm looking at this, and it's like, okay, wait a second. Trying to see where I went wrong. Why was it crooked? But it ends up being pretty crooked, for sure. It's a little crooked. It's not completely wonky. But fortunately, I have this handy dandy Stampin' Up tool with its little sharp point that helps me get the pieces up to replace them. So, you know, when you have tools, gotta have, as they say, the right tool for the right job. Okay, so I'm doing a better way of measuring things. I'm putting the ruler down at the bottom, so everything is even at the bottom. So that really makes more sense rather than to just go from the side. You go from the side if you make a little bit of an error. It gets worse as you go over. This way, it's totally even at the bottom, and it doesn't detract. So here we go. And I just think these papers are just really lovely. And I'm tucking them underneath that, and it just has a neater look to it. See, I really like that tool. It's very, very handy. You know, I should put that tool specifically down below with a link to it, because it has so many tips to it that you can use for so many different things. So now I can put my little journaling spot, and this is a sticker. I took that off the sticker sheet. So I am not going to fill out the journaling. I'm gonna ask Darcy if she wants to, what she wants to write there. And she probably has better handwriting than I do anyway. But she can write the memories down that she wants to record on the pages. So there we've got another of those little pieces that are tucked into the other flower, the bigger flower. And see, that should also, you have to be careful when you do these thin cuts. And I just, clearly wasn't paying full attention and didn't pick up on that. So, but it turned out fine. I mean, you can't really tell. Only super close up can you tell, but most people aren't going to be able to tell that, oh, you're using the wrong side of the die cut. So we're gonna, I'm making a little, here's some more washi tape pieces, except they're zip strips. There's a memories banner down on the stamp page that I'm going to stamp in pine, and it's a solid banner. So it's with memories in really thin letters. So the thing is, there's a spot over on the right-hand side there that's just, it needs something, but I don't have the right picture for it yet. So I'm giving all the flowers a little bend to add just a little bit of dimension to them. You could curl them with a pencil, or just whatever little thing like that, to add a little dimension. It's better than just something completely flat. I'm also going to add a dimensional to add some dimension to the flower. And I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and use the light side. So you get a little bit more variety, a little bit more, it's just not so flat looking. Flat in terms of color or interest, not in terms of dimension. And once again, they get popped up. And I want, they have it totally, in the instructions, they have it totally covered up. That little white flower on the memory. I don't want to ever cover up a flower. So if I can help it. So I'm just going to let it peek out from underneath the honey butter flower. And then a couple of little dots go down there. Little 3 in a row to kind of highlight it. See how all of a sudden you're just drawn to looking at it because you've got the dark pine dots on there. So, and then we've got this little memories thing, and I need to go find a piece of cardstock. So some French vanilla. So that's what it's going to look like. So I'm going to look for some French vanilla, if I can find some. Okay, so I found some, had to go in the other room to get some French vanilla. Going to go ahead and ink her up again with pine or whatever dark green color, intense green you've got. Now I don't know why that came out. I kind of looked at I think what I was doing is giving it an uneven push. But I kind of ended up looking at the stamp saying, well, did I leave something on there? See, it did it again. So what the heck? And there you can see that the ink is still on the end of the stamp. So I'm kind of like, okay, kind of looks like a bow tie, doesn't it? Okay, so we'll try this again, making sure I get a pressure on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it out, and I'm not going to leave a white edge. I'm just going to cut it right to the color. I normally leave a white edge when I'm cutting things out, but not for this one. I just want to go ahead and cut all the excess off and just right up to the color line. So I'm just going ahead and cutting it out. And any little perfection right down there at the end is going to get cut off. And I think that was my fault. It wasn't the stamp's fault. The stamp was fine. It was something to do with the pressure I was putting on it. So there we go. And you can see it's the memory is very, very faint because the writing is so thin. So I'm going to use all the, leftover pieces here to pop up my memories, my little title for the journaling spot. And that will be a nice little another little dimensional element for the page. There we go. So I ended up going through, my husband went through his pictures, and the next 3 hours were spent fighting with technology to try to get something else printed out that was going to be a narrow enough picture to get in that spot. So there was yelling and screaming going on my part, just not at my husband, just at the fact that everything can be so frustrating sometimes. I mean, technology sometimes is just not, it's just not working, and it's not your fault. There's something wonky going on with the technology itself. So as it turns out, our IP provider had done something to the server, and that was really causing a problem transferring pictures from phone to computer. Anyway, it did result in me screaming like a lunatic. I will admit that. And in the meantime, this is what was on my husband's phone, is Philip getting the bottle of champagne and spewing it off into the backyard. So it was like, okay, that's a nice little, I can cut out, I can crop a whole bunch of stuff out of there, and that is just a good place for that. So here are these little roses that ended up being something that Darcy was holding. They were at the top of the trellis, but somehow they ended up on the floor behind, on the ground behind the trellis, and so he kind of looked like a little lonely group of roses. So I thought, okay, well, let me just put that there. It started off at the top of the trellis, ended up her holding it, and then ended up on the ground. So the progress of the roses. And we've got our washi tape, and the last thing we have, so that little pink flower up in the corner there goes up at the top of the champagne bottle. But I'm trying to figure out what's the other little pink thing that's there, and everything that's left isn't what's up there. So I had to do the handy dandy thing, go back to my computer screen and see, and sure enough, that's what was up there. So it's hard to tell on the instructions because it's pretty small. So that gets tucked under there, and we get some more dots that are going to go up top there. And so a number of times I've had to go to the computer screen of the kit to see what the layouts look like and what some of the little pieces are. So just in case you do this, that's what I used. So that we've got some peach dots that are going to go in this lower corner here. And come on, there we go. That's going to go up. There we go. So we've got little peach dots around and the pine dots. And I think we're darn close to that being project 2. So I have to tell you, I'm really happy with these. These papers could be used for a lot of things. I was just fortunate to have a wedding that had some pinks and blues and greens in it, so they worked out just beautiful for me. But it sure would be pretty for so many different occasions, not just a wedding. But there we go. There's my project 2. Hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you. Bye now. I'll be back with project 3. Bye. Hi, this is Dorothy with Scrapbooking. Thanks for watching my channel. Please subscribe and learn along with me. Thank you. Bye-bye.